Imagine you are standing on the deck of a boat in the middle of the open ocean. The sky is perfectly clear without a single cloud. The bright sun pours down on the vivid blue water, making it sparkle like millions of shattered diamonds. The ocean breeze sweeps past, carrying that familiar, salty scent. Everything feels safe, liberating, and absolutely full of life. You take a deep breath, and you jump. The water embraces you. The surface layer is warm and inviting. You open your eyes and see schools of tiny fish darting through the crystal clear water. Sunlight pierces the surface, creating beautiful dancing rays of light. But then you start to sink. You sink a little deeper. The vibrant turquoise slowly fades into a heavier, darker blue. You keep sinking. The sunlight begins to weaken, like a dimmer switch being slowly turned down by an invisible hand. The atmosphere around you is no longer vibrant. It becomes gloomy. You sink further. The dark blue is swallowed by a murky twilight gray. And then you cross the final boundary. The light dies completely. Everything plunges into a thick absolute pitch black. It is so dark that if you held your hand inches from your face, you wouldn't see your own fingers. The temperature plummets and a bone-chilling cold begins to seep into your flesh. You feel an invisible, crushing weight tightening around your eardrums and pressing down hard on your chest. Surrounding you now is total, deafening silence. A silence so heavy it makes your ears ring. And suddenly, a chilling realization flashes through your mind. You are in a place where almost no human being has ever set foot. A place where absolutely no one wants to stay. So, the question has to be asked. Why does the ocean get scarier the deeper you go? Why does a place that exists right here on our own planet feel so profoundly alien, so deeply unsettling, and so completely out of this world? When most people are asked about their fear of the ocean, they give very instinctual answers. We are afraid of being attacked by great white sharks. We are terrified of massive killer whales. Or simply, we are scared because it's dark down there, and we don't know how to swim. But those are just surface-level fears. The truth lying beneath those waves is infinitely more complex, brutal, and terrifying. As you descend, it's not just that the light disappears. It's that the entire rulebook of physics, biology, and even psychology that we are so used to on land is completely ripped to shreds. The environment at the bottom of the deep ocean was not designed to nurture life as we know it. It was designed to crush, freeze, and swallow everything whole. We aren't just afraid of monsters with razor-sharp fangs. We are afraid of the great unknown. We are terrified of a world that violently rejects human existence. To truly understand this terror, we need to divide the ocean into layers, almost like taking an elevator straight down into the underworld. The surface of the ocean, where sunlight can reach, is called the epipelagic or the sunlight zone. It only goes down about 200 meters. This is where almost all the marine life you know exists. Coral reefs, dolphins, sea turtles. But below 200 meters, we enter the twilight zone. The light here is nothing but a spooky, hazy glow enough to see vague shifting shadows, but not nearly enough for plants to photosynthesize. And then, as you cross the 1,000-meter mark, welcome to the midnight zone. From this point down, sunlight officially ceases to exist. It never arrives. For millions of years, not a single photon from the sun has touched this place. Below 4,000 meters is the abyssal zone. And if you keep sinking below 6,000 meters, you enter the Hadal zone, named after Hades, the Greek god of the underworld. The deepest point of this zone is the Mariana Trench, plunging nearly 11,000 meters down. To put that into perspective, if you uprooted Mount Everest and dropped it into the Mariana Trench, the peak of the world's tallest mountain would still be submerged under more than 2 kilometers of water. Down there, there is no day, there is no night, there are no seasons, there is only an absolute, eternal, and silent darkness. But darkness isn't the ocean's deadliest weapon. The thing that will kill you first is the pressure. On land, we live under the pressure of one atmosphere. Our bodies evolved to carry the weight of this air effortlessly, but water is vastly heavier than air. For every 10 meters you descend, the pressure increases by 1 atmosphere. At 4,000 meters, the weight resting on your shoulders is 400 atmospheres. And if you hit the bottom of the Mariana Trench, the pressure is a staggering 100 atmospheres. What does that number actually mean? Imagine having a weight of roughly 8 tons pressing down on every single square inch of your body. It is the equivalent of a full-grown elephant balancing its entire weight on your thumbnail. Every air-filled space inside your body, your lungs, your sinus cavities, your middle ear would instantly collapse and be crushed. Without a heavily armored titanium submersible, a human made of flesh and bone would be flattened into a horrific pulp in a fraction of a millisecond. It would happen so fast your nervous system wouldn't even have time to send a pain signal to your brain. The deep ocean doesn't need to use fangs to tear you apart. Its sheer weight is enough to crush you like an empty aluminum can. Next comes the temperature and the isolation. Cut off from the warm embrace of the sun, temperatures in the deep sea constantly hover near freezing, ranging from 1 to 4 degrees Celsius. There is no light here, which means there are no plants, no algae, no photosynthesis. So what do the creatures down here eat? The answer has a very poetic but deeply haunting name: marine snow, or more bluntly, corpse rain. Everything starts at the surface. When organisms in the shallow waters die, from a massive blue whale to the tiniest microbes, their bodies begin to decompose and slowly sink. These organic fragments, fish scales, feces, and rotting flesh, drift lazily down through the pitch-black water, looking exactly like snowflakes falling on a quiet winter night. The creatures at the bottom of the abyss open their mouths, slowly waiting for these fragments of death to fall so they can survive. It is an ecosystem built entirely upon the literal fallout of other ecosystems, a massive graveyard feeding the scavengers of the abyss. And when it comes to the residents of this world, we have to completely redefine our concept of life. If you bring a deep-sea animal up to the surface, it looks like a deformed, gelatinous monster. But down there, they are flawless survival machines. In a world without sunlight, a massive array of creatures have evolved to create their own light, a phenomenon known as bioluminescence. In this pitch-black void, light isn't used to see. Light is a weapon. Light is a language. Light is a trap. Look at the female anglerfish. She has a nightmare-inducing appearance, with jagged needle-like teeth pointing outward. From the top of her head grows a biological fishing rod, and at the end of it is a glowing blue-green bulb. Floating in the endless dark, this little light looks like hope, a tiny safe anchor. Small fish, drawn to the glow, swim closer, and the exact moment they realize that light is attached to a massive jaw, it's already too late. The trap snaps shut. Or the vampire squid. Despite its terrifying name, it doesn't drink blood. But when threatened, instead of squirting black ink like normal squid, because black ink is utterly useless in a world that is already black, the vampire squid turns its entire body inside out. It exposes a terrifying cloak of fleshy spines and ejects a glowing bioluminescent cloud of mucus to blind its attacker before slipping away into the shadows. Many creatures here have entirely transparent bodies, letting the scant bioluminescent light pass right through them. Others are pitch black or bright red. In the physics of ocean light, red wavelengths are the first to be absorbed by water. So at depths of thousands of meters, being red is the exact same thing as being invisible. These creatures aren't ugly. They were just sculpted by Mother Nature using the most ruthless pressures on the planet. They are masterpieces of the underworld. Our fear of this place isn't just physiological. It is deeply rooted in evolutionary psychology. Psychologists have a term for it: thalassophobia, the persistent fear of deep bodies of water. This fear doesn't stem from being afraid of a specific shark. It stems from the terror of the infinite and the unpredictable. The primate brain, including that of our human ancestors, evolved to fear two specific things: darkness, because that is where predators hide, and vast empty spaces, because there is nowhere to take cover or hold on. The deep ocean is the ultimate combination of both primal fears: an endlessly vast space, unimaginably dark. It triggers every alarm system in your DNA, screaming at you, "You do not belong here. Leave immediately." Let's do a thought experiment to recreate this experience. Imagine you are sitting inside a tiny deep-sea research submersible, roughly the size of a small four-door car. You are at a depth of 4,000 meters, tucked deep inside the abyssal zone. You look out the ultra-thick quartz window. There is nothing but a suffocating, solid blackness. You switch off the submersible's exterior floodlights. Surrounding you now is pure, unadulterated emptiness. The pressure outside is currently pressing against the titanium hull of your ship with the force of thousands of heavy trucks. Every now and then you hear the hull pop and creak eerily, a dry metallic groan echoing in the absolute silence. Every logical part of your brain is screaming that a hairline fracture on that glass means the pressure will rip the ship apart and vaporize you into a red mist in the blink of an eye. Suddenly, a tiny blue light flashes outside your window. Then another. A cluster of green sparks blinks in the distance. The creatures of the dark are talking to each other in a ghostly, luminous language. You flick the floodlights back on. A brilliant beam of light tears through the deep water night. Right in front of your ship, a dragonfish glides by. Its body is long and jet black like a shadow, with razor-sharp teeth that are entirely transparent like glass daggers. Nearby, on the muddy seafloor, a giant isopod looking exactly like an oversized, armored pilbugus slowly crawling on dozens of spiked legs, searching for whale carcasses. You are holding your breath. There is no sound of crashing waves here, no whistling wind, just the low, mechanical hum of your ship's oxygen scrubber. And you suddenly understand a core truth. This is not the beach you know from summer vacations. This is another planet. It is freezing, heavy, silent, and filled with creatures perfectly adapted to life at the end of the world, while you are not. But this is where it gets even stranger. If the crushing pressure, the eternal darkness, and the freezing cold weren't enough to overwhelm you, the sheer resilience of life down here will shift your entire perspective. At the very bottom of the world, down in the Hadal zone, Where scientists once firmly believed absolutely nothing could survive due to the catastrophic pressure, life still found a way to bloom. They found swarms of tiny amphipods swimming energetically at the bottom of the Mariana Trench. They found translucent snailfish, whose skeletons are made of flexible cartilage so they don't snap under the weight of the water. Along the tectonic fault lines, where molten magma from the Earth's core erupts into the freezing seawater, it creates hydrothermal vents. The water spewing from these vents can reach temperatures of 400 degrees Celsius. Even though it's hot enough to melt lead, the water doesn't boil because the pressure is too immense. Around these black smokers spewing toxic chemicals, an entirely alien ecosystem thrives. Giant, blood-red tubeworms with no mouths and no stomachs survive thanks to symbiotic bacteria that synthesize energy directly from toxic hydrogen sulfide instead of sunlight. The weird thing is, we know staggeringly little about this place. More humans have walked on the surface of the moon than have visited the deepest point of our own ocean. We have maps of Mars with far higher resolution than the maps of our own planet's seafloor. More than 80% of the ocean remains an unmapped, unexplored black void. It is terra incognita, unknown land. And the most terrifying truth doesn't lie in the glowing monsters or the crushing pressure that we already know about. The most terrifying truth is what lies waiting out there in the dark, the things we don't even know enough about to be afraid of yet. Let's contrast this with our modern lives today. We live in a world aggressively designed to create absolute safety. We are wrapped in artificial lighting 24/7. We have heating and air conditioning systems to keep our environment at a perfect 72 degrees Fahrenheit. We scroll through Wi-Fi, fly in airplanes, and build steel skyscrapers that touch the clouds. Sometimes, we get scared walking to the bathroom in the dark, or feel a chill when swimming into the deep end of a man-made pool. But remember, the deep ocean is the most extreme primal version of all those fears combined. While we proudly puff our chests and claim we have conquered the Earth, the reality is that the ocean makes up over 70% of this planet's surface. And the vast majority of that colossal volume is pure darkness. We think we are the masters of this world, but humanity is just barely clinging to a paper-thin sunlit crust on the surface. Right beneath our feet, just a few vertical miles down, an entirely different world, an invisible planet, silently exists. It was there billions of years before humans evolved, and it will remain there billions of years after we are gone. Ultimately, why does the ocean get scarier the deeper you go? Perhaps the deepest reason isn't because the pressure will crush your bones, or because jagged teeth are hiding in the dark. As you sink deeper, you are stripped of absolutely everything that defines the human experience. You lose the light, you lose the air to breathe, you lose the familiar comfort of gravity. Even the very concepts of time and space seem to warp under the crushing weight of the abyss. The deep ocean doesn't hate us. It holds no malice. It simply does not need us. It is absolutely indifferent to the existence of human civilization. And perhaps that is the most terrifying thing of all. The realization that makes us feel so incredibly small and powerless. The realization that right here on this planet we call home, there are endless, bottomless chasms where life blooms perfectly, brutally, and spectacularly, completely without us. The next time you stand on the sandy shore, watching the blue waves gently crash against the beach and feeling the cool sea breeze on your face, remember this. Just beneath that beautiful, peaceful facade, if you were to sink just a few thousand meters down, you would completely leave your world behind.